At the Frontier Culture Museum, you will see speakers, costumed and not, in almost all the sections to answer questions, provide information, and walk you through the exhibits. This speaker was in the section called
At the
American
time,
Indians.
the native peoples living in this area were the Monacan Nation. They are still the largest native group in Virginia today. But by around 1700, we know from the archaeology that exists that the Shenandoah Valley, by and large, was primarily not inhabited by any major native group. Native peoples were traveling north and south along what was the Great Warrior Path, or later known as the Great Wagon Road. Within the township zone, we talked about that out of town was primarily the zone of men. Within the township was primarily the area of women's concern in Native community. Most Native communities in the eastern woodlands were matrilineal, meaning that if a young man married a young woman, he married into her family. Women owned the homes and would help build them, and any children of a union would take the mother's line. It would take the clan of their mother. We're working on here today, what we've been working on is hide processing with white-tailed deer. Yesterday we fleshed out a deer, which is after a deer has been killed and gutted out and skinned. That skin would generally be brought back to the native township, the native farming area, and you would proceed to put it on a rack like this, stretch it out, and you would scrape off all that fatty tissue, everything, the organic material that's left on the inside of that skin, so that it can then be taken and processed further. The next main step is you can either turn it over and use a rack like this and scrape off the hair. Most of the time when they're processing deer hide into leather, they're going to take the skin off. That's particularly going to be true when natives want to trade those skins onto European traders. Now, Native Americans have been using both animal hide.
They do have their own speakers, but they also invite doctors, lecturers, and other speakers from surrounding historical commissions to contribute as well.
For punching holes in leather. So they really try to make as best use of every aspect of the animals they hunted they could. They will take those buckskin and turn them into buckskin breeches. And these become popular right the way up the social ladder, from your blacksmiths, carpenters, tradesmen who need them to do that type of hard graft work, up through your lords and nobles, your wealthier members of society who often like them for hunting or even riding. But you can also make the same type of hat from felted beaver fur. Beaver fur is multi-layered. It has kind of a downy underlayer that helps keep beavers warm when they're swimming around those beaver ponds, even in cold weather. The outer layer is shaggier and it helps to shed that water off. When you felt that together, it kind of locks and even has kind of a shag to it when you brush it. Native Americans have been using stone axes for over a millennia by this point. A metal axe will do the job. A stone axe will do the job. What might be some of the advantages of an iron and steel axe? Native Americans have their own versions of clay pots. This is a style that was common in this part of the southeast. I'll let you guys see that if you want. But European traders show up and they've got bags full of these, which are Venetian glass beads made in Italy. Native Americans also had their own version of this in the eastern woodlands. Here is an example of that. This is a finger woven sash or strap. And how Native Americans in the eastern woodlands did this is they would warp out strands of either their native available fibers or cordage, and they would finger over one way and then back and then back, and then you work your way down and you wind up with a kind of strap fabric that will serve those same needs as that tape. Kind of meshes along this frontier. It's not just a one-way street, it's a two-way mixing of cultures. Right? And that's a big part of what this whole experience of the Frontier Culture Museum is designed to integrate and show you guys. If you guys have any questions about anything else you see around this area,
See the links
there are
below for the museum's main page, their Facebook page, which announces when they have guest speakers, and consider clicking the like button if you enjoyed exploring with us here at VR Virtual Studio.